Roughly 30 minutes. That's how long Alexee Trevizo was in the bathroom at Artesia General Hospital.
I probably checked on her 2 to 3 times, I'm not exactly sure. And then I just kept hearing paper towel dispenser and flushing and like the water running. And I knocked again, did she need anything? Denied anything.
And evidently, that's all the time the teen needed to allegedly commit an inconceivable act.
And all I saw was like everywhere, like on the walls, on the toilet. It just looked like a horror film.
On the very bottom, she had it covered with some toilet paper.
She said, pick it up. And when I picked it up, it was heavy. I was like, holy, right away I knew.
That left medical professionals who thought they'd seen it all stunned.
We discovered a baby in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And sent the internet on a hunt for the truth.
I just went down the longest rabbit hole on TikTok I've gone down since Gabby Petito, and now you guys must go down the rabbit hole with me.
Is Alexee actually memorializing her baby that she...
But as more evidence comes forward, will time prove the teen's guilt?
Miss Trevizo, you're an adult. That's Alexee Trevizo leaving.
I'm just going to tell you this. I've never, ever seen a reaction like that girl.
Or will blame shift in another direction?
From there, we gave her some pain medication. She started feeling a little better, and then she said she needed to go have a bowel movement, and that's kind of when the whole thing happened.
They gave her major medication. Some of that medication certainly dangerous to a unborn child or fetus.
I love my daughter. She's my everything.
The mom was upset because she had and hadn't told her.
Was there anything that could have been done? Let's uncover the mystery behind Alexee's bizarre actions the night of January 2nd, 2023. It was December 2022 when Alexee Trevizo first approached New Mexico's Artesia General Hospital with an issue. The 19-year-old high school student was suffering from severe back pain, or at least that's what medical professionals treated Alexee for before sending her on her way. But just weeks later, on the night of January 2nd, Alexee awoke in the same excruciating pain. With her mother at her side, the teen returned to the hospital, a visit that would change the lives of everyone involved. The preliminary examination ran on Alexee that night sparked concerns, as the teen's heart rate and demeanor suggested a more complex diagnosis than simple back pain. Quickly, she was moved into another room for further testing, although Alexee wasn't the most willing or open patient for those attempting to help her.
It seemed like we were being just deceived from the beginning, but that's just my take on it. It seemed like she was very manipulative with us.
With her baggy clothes and maneuvers away from the hands of the medical team, it seemed that Alexee didn't want her body to be seen, let alone touched.
She really wouldn't sit still. She wouldn't really let me examine her.
But there was one condition known to cause back pain that experts hadn't ruled out: pregnancy.
I asked the patient and her mother if she could be pregnant. Her mother said no, under no circumstances. I've been buying pads for her every month.
And while the teen and her mother, Rosa Rodriguez, insisted she hadn't been intimate with anyone, a laboratory test begged to differ. Alexee was pregnant, but before congratulations could be extended, the high schooler asked to be excused and rushed to the bathroom. And despite Alexee's speedy getaway, once that bathroom door was locked, the teen took her time. And as minutes ticked by, hospital staff became worried. Her mother, Rosa, also made 2 visits to the bathroom door, to which Alexee did not open for. And although Alexee claimed she was fine, the symphony of running water, pushing of a paper towel dispenser, and near constant flushes suggested all had not gone well on the teen's bathroom trip. After 20 to 30 minutes, medical staff threatened to unlock the bathroom with keys, a statement that prompted the bathroom door to finally swing open. And oh, what a scene greeted them.
Went into the restroom and I saw a large amount of...
And all I saw was like everywhere, like on the walls, on the toilet. It just looked like a horror film.
It was a glory massacre mess.
And there, amid the crimson stains splattered across the washroom, and the smeared vital fluid on the floors that hinted at a rushed cleanup job stood Alexee.
Did she say anything at that point?
She didn't say anything. She was just looking kind of straight past me and went back to the room.
A trail of red footprints marked the teen's path back to her doctor, where an examination began immediately. As for the mess Alexee left behind, well, that was now the housekeeper's responsibility. The hospital employee dutifully made their way through the bathroom, cleaning the floors, the walls, the toilet, even the footprints Alexee had left in the hall before making her way to the trash, which, despite containing an empty bag, held a weight. Curious, the housekeeper lifted the clean liner, and there at the bottom, in a separate bag, twisted at the top and wrapped underneath, was an infant's body.
On the very bottom, she had it covered with some toilet paper.
Did you, when you looked at it, did you see that it was a baby, or what did you think? You knew already? Okay.
She quickly got the attention of other hospital staff, who confirmed the housekeeper wasn't mistaken. Indeed, stuffed amongst trash at the bottom of the bin was a baby. The child was then taken to another room for examination, where it was shortly determined he had already passed. And while life and death passed through hospitals every day, the way the baby had passed didn't just make what happened that night a tragedy. It made Artesia General Hospital a crime scene, and Alexee the #1 suspect. When officers arrived, a charge nurse caught them up on the situation. From the state of the bathroom,
I was afraid that she knew she was pregnant. She had done something to herself.
to what was found in the garbage,
She put the baby in the trash can, and then she put another clean liner over the top of it.
to the criminal implications that this discovery had.
The kid.
As for what had happened in the bathroom, the nurse was unsure, and he didn't seem to think law enforcement would squeeze the truth out of Alexee.
She's gonna lie. She wouldn't even tell us she's pregnant. She's been lying the whole time.
And given the size of the infant's body, was it possible Alexee was lying about her pregnancy for months?
How old was the baby?
I don't know. It's full term.
But now, the charade was over, and the medical staff, along with officers, had to inform Alexee, in front of her mother, about what they had found after she left the bathroom.
I'm sorry, we discovered a baby in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And right then and there, Alexee, who had adamantly denied she could be pregnant up until this point, confessed to her mother.
I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do.
Lexi, I told you about this.
But it
I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
It was not crying or nothing.
What did you do to it?
But before Alexee could answer, the doctor intervened.
#1 priority is she just had a baby. I don't know if she's delivered the placenta. She's significantly.
Alexee was set to be transferred to another hospital for treatment, but not before more details of Alexee's bathroom birth were revealed.
Like, how big is the baby?
It's full term.
What?
9 months?
Nothing was crying.
Lexi, have you watched the news of the girls that what they do to their babies and what they go to jail?
Nothing was crying.
You put it in the bag?
Yes.
Yeah.
In what bag?
In the trash bag.
Why didn't you say anything to us? Do you want to get in trouble for this now? You could get in trouble for this, baby.
Mom, just give it time, okay?
But the mother was right. Alexee could get in trouble, and it seemed already was. Yep, the 19-year-old wasn't leaving this nightmare anytime soon. And while the hospital might not have been as intimidating as a cell, Alexee was still detained and unable to leave or accept visitors, a fact her mother hadn't considered when she left the hospital briefly and attempted to return to her daughter.
Not allowed to come back any moment.
No? Can you tell me why not?
Because now it's an active investigation.
So the mother, the stepfather, and Alexee's boyfriend and his mother holed up in the waiting room.
And you'd be grandmother?
I'm mom.
So you'd be
I'm
the
her mom.
You'd be the Destin's grandmother.
Yes. So that's her boyfriend.
Not trying to be rude, but you are more than likely would be the father. Yes.
No.
And as the family offered answers to law enforcement's questions, Alexee was left solo, something she seemed deeply uncomfortable with.
Why?
Won't be allowed in here.
Well, not yet. Can't allow her to come back in here yet.
But when they get here.
Yeah, once they get here, then it's up to detectives, and then you could ask them if she can come back here. The reason why is because you're an adult. You're 19 years old. Okay, if you were a juvenile, I would gladly have her back in here. Okay, but being you're an adult, I can't have her. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So.
The night ended with the teen being airlifted to another hospital, and while it was an undeniably traumatic series of events for both mother and daughter, they weren't the only ones affected by what had taken place. It was a hard night for everyone on the job at the hospital, from law enforcement
These are the ones that you don't want to do.
to staff.
I think it's just hard because I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I've dealt with death before, but never like this.
You okay?
Yeah.
No, I know it's kind of traumatic. So.
Yeah, it just bothered me at first.
Yeah.
And it still bothered me.
My job is to save lives, and I had no chance on that baby. She gave me no chance. Well, it is very upsetting what transpired. Like I said, it's harder to choke down when you don't even have a shot. She didn't give me a shot at that kid.
And just like the medical professionals had their suspicions about Alexee,
She was extremely duplicitous. She lied to us the entire time.
so did the internet. After all, it seemed the supposedly unexpected mother might have not been in the dark as she had made herself out to be, or at least that's what video footage suggested. In early January, the same month Alexee later gave birth, the teen was caught cheerleading in a video of a high school basketball game, an unusual activity for someone who was weeks away from giving birth, especially considering the risk of simply standing sidelines put the teen and her unborn baby in if a fumbled ball came her way.
Sanchez down the right side gets it now back to Sanchez. Goes into the lane, it's tipped out of bounds, but it'll remain Bulldog basketball.
But it wasn't just the unwise activity choice that caught public interest. It was what the footage seemed to expose. See, while Alexee's baggy clothing at the hospital might have concealed her pregnancy, in her tight-fitted cheerleading outfit, the teen's sizable baby bump was on full display.
That's clear as day. That's a pregnant belly. Here was another one, her in uniform during cheer. That's clear as day. That's a belly.
But if the teenager couldn't hide the bump from the public, how could she hide her pregnancy from herself? Well, according to theories circulating social media, she hadn't.
And what her defense is trying to say is like, oh, she didn't know she was pregnant, but there's all these photos and videos that she knew. Like, obviously, it's obvious.
And to some, older photos seem to not only confirm the targeted weight gain had been a recent development, but that Alexee had possibly been trying to hide her developing bump.
Then we got pictures of Lexi, which looks like she's wearing a waist trainer or a girdle.
But even if Alexee hadn't known she was pregnant, according to public response, that was no excuse for what she did. She was in a hospital. She had other options. Some are defending her behavior by using the "she's only a child" card. She isn't a child. She is an adult. She not only disposed her child into a trash can, but took her additional step of adding another clean trash bag on top, to make it seem as if everything was normal. She should be prosecuted to the fullest extent and deserves no mercy. How the hell did Alexee Trevizo get away with She needs to get life, because if you didn't want that baby, you were already in the hospital. You already had the baby. You could have given him up. In fact, Alexee could have surrendered the child to Artesia General Hospital without any repercussions.
We are a facility that you can drop the baby off, no questions asked. It's hard to fathom what was going on in her mind.
Yet, despite the wider internet rallying against Alexee, some found the 19-year-old story to be more gray than black and white. As one user wrote, "I am so torn with this one. No, she didn't handle it at all well, but we don't know the circumstances and what was actually going on, just what is presented." And others commented, "It sounds like she thought she had a stillborn and panicked. Poor girl. I can't imagine being that young and scared, doing what I thought was the only option, and being punished. I think her parents traumatized her in a way that she was so scared of them, she did this. It's wrong, and I have no other explanation." Speaking of parents, it seemed Alexee's mother also hadn't escaped online criticism. According to what the mother told law enforcement, her daughter often suffered from back pain and other issues with her body. These issues were caused by Alexee's premature birth, which the mother alleged was the result of DV allegedly committed by her ex-husband while she was pregnant with Alexee, a history that meant she hadn't ever had to question question the cause of her daughter's physical ailments.
I honestly didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know.
But could the mother really have been so blind to her daughter's changing body? The internet wasn't sold, and it seemed even law enforcement believed the mother might have had more to tell than she let on.
I need to get her also, see what her daughter told her before she found out.
But if Alexee's mother had known her daughter was pregnant, this would mean her reaction to the news, her apparent shock and devastation. Was it all an act? And according to theories spreading across social media, the public had indeed been duped. The mother's role was evident, some believed. In fact, her alleged deceit was right there in the body camera footage where her worry about leaving her daughter alone now appeared less maternal and more conniving, just like her reaction to the doctor going through protocol.
The baby's gonna have to be taken for autopsy.
Now seemed to hold a smirk. On Facebook, one user wrote, "When the police come in to tell Alexee they found her newborn, her mother states,
Alexee, I told you about this.
How could they have discussed something that wasn't known about until minutes earlier? Something is fishy. Math ain't mathin'. Plotting and scheming transpired here. But the internet only had access to the footage and reports available online. Hospital staff, on the other hand, well, they'd been present for the entire ordeal. So perhaps their interviews with detectives could provide insight into one of the internet's most pressing questions. What happened to the young mother's placenta? See, while doctors feared Alexee might not have delivered the placenta, as there was no evidence of the temporary organ in the bathroom, after the teenager was rushed to another hospital, it became apparent the placenta had been passed. Online, some have theorized that Alexee pulled out her placenta or umbilical cord during part of the body cam footage, where she appeared to reach under her gown, although others were more inclined to believe she was checking for the vital fluid she was losing at the time. So, what was the truth? Well, it seemed one of the sounds that first alerted staff to trouble in the facilities,
because I was like, dang, she's flushing that toilet like an awful lot,
might have hinted at where the placenta had disappeared to.
She probably put it in the toilet, would be my guess.
But this doesn't explain how the mother detached the umbilical cord that tied the baby to the placenta. While the protocol in a medical setting is for hospital staff to cut the cord, when a patient gives birth alone in a bathroom, all bets are off. Still, the internet believed the gruesome aftermath Alexee left on the walls of the bathroom held a clue.
Multiple people also said that there was blood splatter, like spray, all over the walls, and they think that was created by the ripping of the umbilical cord.
But if this stain was evidence of the force Alexee had used to detach her baby from the cord,
in your line of work, what would cause that kind of splatter?
I think something that got pulled out or ripped. Like if you rip something and just went, like you swing your hand and just splatters.
What did the state the umbilical cord was left in say about how Alexee had cut into the cord?
I noticed that the umbilical cord looked like an animal had tore it apart. Have you ever eaten string cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when you twist it, that's how the bottom of the umbilical cord looked. And I just remember it caught my eye and I was like, this chick really ripped this thing apart. Because those things are hard to cut.
Filling in the blanks, the internet theorized the ferocious measure the teen might have taken to sever the cord, using her teeth. The detectives' interviews with the hospital's employees also shed light on the shift in dynamic between the mother and daughter after Alexee's pregnancy was revealed.
The mom was upset because she had and hadn't told her. So they were going back and forth on that, and then she was just denying it, which was a little wasn't really deniable at that point in time.
And the mother started screaming at her, screaming, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. This is after they had both sworn up and down that there was no chance she could be pregnant.
And the mom was saying, I can't believe you know you can talk to me, you're supposed to talk to me about this stuff before you have all those kind of things. She was saying stuff like that.
Yet, as concerned as the mother was over Alexee's loss of virginity, according to hospital staff, both mother and daughter displayed a complete disinterest over the fate of the child.
Did she ever ask about the baby? No. Not once.
Even Alexee's family and boyfriend in the waiting room showed a lack of consideration for the baby, according to an interaction from the hospital's charge nurse.
I was really surprised not one person asked me about the baby. If it was alive, if it was a boy, if it was a girl, no one asked me anything.
But according to the charge nurse, no response to the child's passing rivaled Alexee's.
I mean, I've delivered multiple babies and I've seen multiple miscarriages, and I've never seen a reaction like that.
How would you describe the reaction?
There was no emotion except for herself. And the only thing she was upset about was that I think she was going to be in trouble with her mother. That was her only concern, in my opinion.
Still, one answer remained unclear. Had the teen known she was pregnant? Well, it seemed that a peculiar question one of the hospital's nurses recalled Alexee asking might have hinted at the truth. According to the medical professional, Alexee had asked whether stopping one medication and starting a new one could lead to complications. Unsure of what she was getting at, the nurse asked the teen to specify.
She said, well, what would happen if I stopped taking birth control and started taking weight loss medications?
To the nurse, the implication was clear.
It seemed like she'd been trying to hide this pregnancy from her mother for some time. If you know you're pregnant, you're not going to continue taking birth control pills. But if you're trying to hide it, you might start taking weight loss medications. That's just kind of what it seemed like in my head.
But if law enforcement wanted to get any information out of Alexee, first, they'd have to get through her mother. After all, while the mother seemed to have no problem venting to those assigned to the case.
Did you hear about HIPAA was broke and there's a whole bunch of rumors out?
I heard there was rumors through the high school. Yeah, that's just small town stuff.
But that shouldn't have happened.
It shouldn't
That's why it's HIPAA.
I know.
Her daughter was harder to get hold of.
Miss Trevizo, you're an adult. That's Alexee Trevizo leaving.
Meaning any and all attempts for law enforcement to contact the teen had to first be approved by Alexee's mother.
I'm calling you today because I tried to get a hold of Alexee at school.
Why would you go to school? Why wouldn't you come here to my house?
Well, because you told me that I need to speak with a lawyer before you talk to me. But I need to hear that from Alexee first. I need to hear it I have to be in person, man, so I know it's her.
Hello?
Hello? When would be a good time to meet you?
You can come to my house right now, Detective Gonzalez, if you want to. I'm here and she's here.
But when law enforcement arrived at Alexee's house on May 10th, it wasn't just a conversation with Alexee Trevizo they were after.
I'll bring her out. Just tell me what's going on. I see him. And you before she gets arrested. This is my house. Got it. Right.
Before they could see her daughter, Alexee's mother wanted answers. Answers law enforcement had no requirement to give her.
What is she under arrest for? No, I'm not bringing her out here yet. Let me know what she's under arrest for.
And her persistence paid off, if this was the response she was looking for.
Open count of homicide and tampering with evidence.
Which, according to her mother's reaction, it wasn't.
Tampering with evidence?
Yes.
At the hospital?
As it turned out, the autopsy on Alexee's child found he had taken his last breath after birth, leading the medical examiner to rule the passing as a homicide. The criminal complaint filed by law enforcement also stated that Alexee had attempted to destroy, change, hide, place, or fabricate physical evidence, to wit her child, with the intent to prevent the apprehension, prosecution, or conviction. So while the mother resisted,
When this is over, I'm coming for the police department and the hospital. I am.
in the end, there was nothing left to do but to comply with authorities.
We're not going to be rough with her or anything. We're just going to take her over there and book her.
Please don't be rough with her, please.
Just bring her out. You can be with her the entire time.
What's your name?
Alexee.
And hand her daughter over. But there was one moment from that body cam footage that might have been otherwise eclipsed by the tense interaction with law enforcement, if a few online sleuths hadn't pointed it out. It occurred when Alexee, who was still losing vital fluids at this time, re-entered the home to grab menstrual products, an errand that now required detective accompaniment for the teen. As the detective walked through the house, footage captured the corner of the fireplace mantel with a frame on top. And while the contents of the frame were indistinguishable in the few seconds of the video, the name Alex and the candle burning beside the frame had some theorizing that this was a shadow box or a shrine for Alexee's child, who, according to contents allegedly released by the police department, had been renamed Alex Fierro from the placeholder title of John Doe. A detective also confirmed Baby Doe at the time was cremated and sent to Alexee, adding more weight to the potential Alex shrine. It was a gesture, although one the internet wasn't touched by.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The baby is horrifically, and then memorialized as if they love and miss him. I mean, right?
But now that Alexee Trevizo was officially under the supervision of Eddy County Detention Center, was justice being served? Or was an innocent high schooler being charged with a crime they hadn't committed?
She's in great distress because she's in a jail and didn't do anything to deserve being there. I don't care what the state of New Mexico may allege.
That's Gary Mitchell, Alexee Trevizo's attorney, who claims it wasn't the teenager or her mother who had mishandled the situation the night of January 27th, but those who were meant to take care of her.
She's at the only facility where she can get help, and then this happens. I have serious problems with that. I have serious problems with the hospital care. I have serious problems with the records we're now getting out of that hospital because I don't think it's necessarily correct and honest.
According to Alexee's attorney, the medical professionals at the hospital had supplied Alexee with heavy painkillers.
They gave her major medication. Some of that medication certainly dangerous to an unborn child or fetus, and that medication was started without finding out whether or not she was pregnant.
And while there have been allegations that Alexee was told she was pregnant before she rushed to the hospital bathroom,
at 1:39 she knew she was pregnant. They had already done the test. They had already come back in the room and told her and her mother that she was pregnant. So at 1:39 when she ran to the restroom, everyone knew she was pregnant.
Gary Mitchell claimed this wasn't the case.
But not a single one of them told her that she was pregnant. Not a single one of them told her that we need to examine you.
And while these allegations of malpractice might sound sensational, the detective interview with the triage nurse who was looking after Alexee implied they weren't entirely unfounded.
Doc came in and kind of did a quick assessment in the triage room before we moved her back to a treatment room. From there we gave her some pain medication. She started feeling a little better, and then she said she needed to go have a bowel movement, and that's kind of when the whole thing happened.
Okay, prior to the bowel movement, did you tell her that y'all got a positive?
No, the doc hadn't been in there to tell her yet.
All of it come back after she came back?
It probably all came back before.
As for what Alexee was being accused of doing after she gave birth, according to her attorney, Alexee did the best she could under the circumstances.
Despite the fact she's on major pain medication, is in total shock, and in a state of panic, she still tried to do the right thing by her baby, I'll tell you that much. And that baby wasn't put in the trash right away.
And although Alexee's mother feared the worst after her daughter was locked up,
anybody finds out that what she did, what they think she did, or you know, and she doesn't want any kind of harm. Okay. So if you guys could isolate her, I don't want anything to happen.
Alexee's stint behind bars was short-lived as she was released 6 days after her arrest on a $100,000 bond. The release came just before graduation, an event Alexee didn't attend upon the request of her high school.
They just asked that she not be there so as not to generate any issues whatsoever. And so she agreed to that.
As a part of her release, Alexee is required to follow a strict curfew, attend counseling, and gain court permission for all out-of-state travel aside from trips to Texas to see family that have already been approved. Currently, the teen is not under house arrest or required to wear an ankle monitor. And while Alexee's family and legal team were pleased she was free, the wider internet, well, not so much. Online, the teen's release was dubbed a disservice to children and newborns. And while Alexee might have not attended her high school graduation, her boyfriend's attendance was shared across socials along with photos of the two allegedly attending prom together just months after the incident. Some alleged Alexee was back to participating on the cheer team, although it's unclear if this video was recent or old. Yet despite the online scrutiny, there was a demographic that was noticeably missing from the conversation: Alexee's classmates. Indeed, the student body had been surprisingly hush-hush on the subject of Alexee Trevizo, and there was allegedly a reason for that.
The school superintendent of the district sent out an email basically saying that if anybody is caught discussing what's going on, that A, the seniors wouldn't be allowed to graduate, and B, people could get expelled. That's why nobody's talking.
But one user wasn't sure how well an unofficial gag order would work on teenagers.
They told a group of high schoolers, the messiest population on the planet as a collective,
to not talk about something.
And sure enough, all it took was a little digging to find social media posts from alleged classmates reacting to Alexee's release.
When the news broke, they were calling her a BK. They were mad that she was let out on bail, and then the girl that shared it said she'd be damned if she go to graduation.
A live stream from an alleged student that spoke about Alexee's mother.
Last night, the girl on live said pretty much her mom had a reputation of being a Karen around town, but I feel like they just don't want to deal with her mom.
And a comment from a supposed parent of a student that explained why the school had requested students to refrain from commenting on Alexee's case.
They were saying that she was getting threats to vandalize her home, and they were saying all kinds of things, and the school kind of released that as a way to contain the chaos, and that someone actually went as far as to say, you better not show up to graduation.
When asked whether Alexee's classmates knew she was pregnant, the same alleged parent responded, a few students knew, and she was defensive when asked. And that brings us to the underlying issue. While comments like these might make the whole incident sound avoidable if anyone had stepped in, without hindsight, it's hard to say what could have prevented the events of January 27th. But it's possible a sexual education that isn't required to stress abstinence might be one way to prevent something like this from ever happening again. After all, Alexee had options, and if she attended a Planned Parenthood, she could have found a local clinic for contraceptives or even a termination to her pregnancy if that's what she wanted. But of course, our views towards intimacy are shaped at home, which makes providing a safe space for children to talk to their parents about intercourse all the more important. Yet, from Alexee's mother's reaction to her daughter's pregnancy, some believed this open dialogue is something the teen wasn't provided by her mother. As one Reddit user put it, "I swear my mom was like that. She was shocked to hear I was pregnant at 28. I had been married since 23. It was extremely hard to tell her I was pregnant, even though it was a planned pregnancy. I was almost 30. I feel for this girl because I definitely had an intercourse is bad mom. I couldn't imagine if I'd gotten pregnant that young." And although there are already cries of injustice in the case of Alexee Trevizo,
look, all I'm saying is that if I ever commit a crime, I want the same grace that Alexee Trevizo had. Okay? I want the same cops, the same detectives, the same judge, whatever. I too would love a slap on the wrist.
this story is only just developing. Currently, Alexee's case is awaiting pretrial, which is scheduled for September 11th, 2023, with the following jury trial scheduled for October 2nd. As it stands, the teen had pleaded not guilty to the charges of first-degree homicide and tampering with evidence. As for her innocence, well, that will lie in the hands of the court. Mention the name Alexee Trevizo, and you're bound to receive conflicting opinions when it comes to the teen's actions in that hospital bathroom on January 27th.
No, she clearly knew she was pregnant, and she clearly knew what she was doing.
She just lost a son. She just lost a child. Well, I mean, come on, there's got to be some common human decency here.
And varying theories on who is ultimately responsible.
I understand she was scared, and I think her mother had a big dynamic on her, and I think her mother was probably pretty controlling. I don't know that, I'm just speculation.
The alarms are sounding off that these two know more than they're letting on to everyone else.
So the doc hadn't told her that she had popped
After all, with details so horrific.
There's like one or two things in the wastebasket. I usually pick it up, take it out, but I didn't that night. I've been kicking myself on this because I feel like, you know, if I would have just taken it out, I would have seen it.
They think that she may have delivered it in the toilet and flushed it repeatedly.
She didn't give me a shot at that kid.
It's hard to not want somebody to blame.
I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do. Lexi, I told you about this. I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
The mom was upset because she hadn't told her.
This is the story of Alexee Trevizo, the high schooler who exited the bathroom she gave birth in alone, leaving hospital staff and law enforcement to deal with the grisly aftermath.